Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Joe Lazaro. I'm the collaboration practice manager here at Force3. I'm joined by Ramanush from Cisco on the U.S. public sector cloud sales team. Um, Everyone should have received their, I don't know if it was a DoorDash or Grubhub gift card. So I hope everyone was able to get some lunch from your favorite local establishment, and hopefully supporting some local small businesses. So a bit of housekeeping. Any questions? Everyone should be muted right now, but if you have a question, use the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen. If you don't see the panel, towards the bottom, there'll be those three dots. Click the dots and then Q&A panel, and then it should show up. So we have a few on that'll be here to answer and address any questions from the group. So jumping right into it, I think the title of this presentation was fairly straightforward, right? Secure collaboration for really any work environment, and I think life has certainly changed over the past few months. We're going to spend the next hour or so to just talk about how that change has affected us in our daily lives. I think when we say any work environment, that's especially pertinent now, where previously you probably would have said, a remote work environment. But I know people are starting to go back to the office. So there's, I think, challenges and concerns with how do we bridge the gap, right, between the remote employees, the ones that are more nomadic, and then the ones that are back at the office. So pandemic certainly, right, has affected everyone, both personal life, professional life, all industries, sectors. But I think for government agencies especially, it's a unique set of challenges, right, on keeping employees safe, but also kind of furthering your mission along. So the theme of this is really the traditional workspace as we know it, and kind of what world are we living in today, and maybe what that could look like in the future. So just a quick compare and contrast with, I think, how most people here are used to working, and maybe we took some of this for granted. I know I have, where when I'm working on a project, working with one of my coworkers, it was really easy, right, to just drop by someone's desk and have a chat, ask a question. I think today, especially in the remote environment, it's a lot of trying to find somebody, right? We have a lot of communication tools now, and I call it communication, not collaboration. A lot of times, right, we're calling on someone's cell phone, trying to reach them in between meetings, right? Sending emails, hoping that they'll respond. Some agencies who have embraced more of the collaboration tools, right, may have a messaging platform, right, where you can look at the presence of somebody. You can say, well, are they in a meeting? Are they on a call? Are they online, or are they offline? But definitely has expanded out the time it takes to really get simple answers from your coworkers or your management. Certainly at our office in Crofton, Maryland, right? A lot of time collaborating in our huddle rooms and our shared spaces and our conference rooms, and that's where all the whiteboarding happens. That's where we brainstorm ideas and think about the big picture stuff. Now especially, right, we're having to meet virtually to share ideas. Certainly, right, not the same as some of those in-person meeting experiences. But what we're doing here today, right? I would much rather be at a local Marriott hosting a happy hour after this webinar. Event center is the next best thing, right? To kind of bring everyone together in a virtual environment, being able to share voice, video, and content. I think I mentioned the shift back to the office. I know certainly for our office, and I think a lot of our customers, they're normally pretty dense working environments. Dense cubicles. Real estate's expensive, right? So trying to make the best of that. Um, it's really hard to maintain that workspace and environment while also social distancing. So we're seeing a lot of customers having to take the traditional workspaces, the cubicles, kitchen area, hallways, conference rooms, and have rework that space to maintain some of those mandates. We talked about the way we work is changing. I think that's really a ripple effect, right, across a lot of different areas. I think one of the main ones that we're working with customers on, and probably a challenge of yours, is business continuity, right? So how do you as an organization, right, find an acceptable level of productivity during a disaster? And I think when I think disaster historically, I'm thinking a natural disaster, a power outage, maybe a US based attack, right? And I don't think a lot of people thought about a global pandemic and how do I put in place processes and business continuity around that. So I think it's certainly raised a unique challenge of 100% telework for months at a time. And I think a lot of our customers, right, hadn't planned for that. There's certainly telework policies and procedures in place, but that's more for sporadic teleworking, right? Maybe there's an alternate work site that simply isn't available now. And the challenges that 100% telework for a sustained period raises is what's your contingency plan, right? When plan A doesn't actually work out, right? So what's your backup? What's your plan B? What's your plan C? Heard a lot of customers that, hey, now I'm 100% telework, right? I don't have the available bandwidth to support all this remote connectivity, voice and video traffic, right? Your conferencing systems are at capacity, and there's even issues with hardware, right? So we had a customer that needed to purchase web cameras for all their employees. The supply is almost nil, and you have supply chain issues, right? So trying to procure upgraded infrastructure hardware has been very difficult. So if your supply chain has issues, your procurement stopping you, kind of what's your plan C around that? And I think if we look at the agility, or I really think of that as what's your speed to market, what's your speed of action, how quickly can you move forward on something? And when it is a hardware-based component, just due to the nature of that thing has to be assembled, shipped, received, implemented. That's a long process when people aren't even in the office to do that kind of work. So I really think when I think of agility, right, as a service, right, aligns with that very nicely, because your speed to market, your ability to be agile sometimes is as quick as you can swipe your credit card, right? So as a service, definitely has kind of shifted that. I think for some larger buys, that has to go still through the procurement cycle, definitely can kind of slow down that process. That software definitely makes things easier. And then on the flexibility, I really see that is how elastic is your service, right? So being able to flex up for that burst need, right? I'm operating at 100% telework, 120% maybe. Once people start going back to the office, right? If you purchase that software, if you purchase that hardware, now you own it. So what's your investment? I think as a service, from a flexibility standpoint, right, allows you to flex down, right, after you've used that service for a given period, and you're able to recoup some of that costs. So from a working from home, this was a Gartner survey. I think it's primarily kind of commercial finance, but I don't think this is too far off from some of our federal customers as well, where 74% of companies, right, are planning to shift to permanent work from home post-COVID. I think there will certainly be a component of that, of roles that can be accomplished 100% remotely. In talking to a lot of my customers, I feel like it's more of a kind of a floating target where they want to keep at any given time 30 to 40% of their workforce remote. Now that could be a different person, right? Day of the week, based on the month. So I think that's going to be a rotating schedule. And going back to those physical workspaces, how do you manage the workspace? How do you burst up to give all these capabilities? Is critically important. So hitting on, I talked about it a little while ago on collaboration. For me, it's a pretty simple concept. Is how do you bring people together to create a team to solve a problem, right? I think the what can be easier, the how is a little more complicated. And I think the how on the collaboration front is we have all these different modalities of collaboration that can be consumed on premise, through the cloud, or some type of hybrid approach. So just looking at these, I think voice is table stakes, right? People have had voice access forever. Everyone always has a cell phone on their hip. We've seen a lot of agencies struggle with, the enterprise number is where people are trying to reach you. So now they're having to call multiple numbers on different devices to actually make some kind of contact. Video certainly is first and foremost, where if you're audio only, I think you lose some of that personal touch with your coworkers, with your colleagues. The mobility aspect, especially when we go back to the office and become more mobile overall, right? How am I taking all these collaboration capabilities with me, either on my mobile device, on my laptop, whether I'm working from home, whether I'm on the road or in the office, right? The capabilities available to me as an employee should be consistent. Messaging obviously is a stopgap, right, between email and voice. So I would certainly lump in presence in there as well, being able to kind of see the status of my coworker. So if I see they're on a call, I'm probably not going to call them. I'm going to send them an email. And if I see they're in a meeting, I'm not going to stop by. So it's really adding context to that personal touch. Contact center, not a need across the board, but I think for certain agencies, how you connect with your customers and your employees is certainly critical. I think everyone can probably relate to the help desk scenario, and I'm sure, especially now, a lot of help desks are getting overwhelmed with IT questions and service requests. So being able to manage that expectation, those SLAs, and connecting the right resource with the person needing help is, again, critically important. And then last, and I think what a lot of the theme of the rest of the conversation is going to be is around meetings. I think the meetings portion is I would say the low hanging fruit. But I think especially now, right? I think it's critically important that people are able to meet and share ideas effectively. As a service lends very well to that meetings platform, where some of the voice and video can be a little more challenging. So we look at we said as a service and meetings in the cloud. I think especially for federal agencies, consuming and procuring cloud services historically has been very challenging, right? Is you have to go through that risk management process for every procurement, for every cloud service provider. I mean, that's time consuming. It's very costly, and it's inefficient. So especially now, right? We need time to market. We need to be able to move on these services quickly and swiftly. So everything we're going to be talking about here, right, is centered around FedRAMP, right? How do we take a uniform approach that's approved, a standard set of security controls, and leverage, right, their model of do once, use many to increase speed to market. Also, a lot of the services we're going to talk about now are centered around FedRAMP moderate on the IL2 front. We certainly have solutions around IL4 for high impact, IL5, IL6. So, if your data requires a higher FedRAMP classification, certainly a conversation we would love to have separately and more direct around your collaboration requirements. So I think of meetings, I think of a few tenets, and I think just human nature. I try to think of it as how do we make it as easy as possible. I think we always use our previous experiences to inform our future choices. So making that meeting experience easy to join is very important. So that one button to push, so that whether I'm in a conference room, on my phone, on my desktop, it's a single action to join the meeting. And that big green button is the first thing I'm going to look for, no matter where I am. Video first, and I think especially now, right? Video is becoming, as it should be, as easy as making a phone call. I used to work at the U.S. Corps of Engineers, and I remember we used to have a mobile video cart, and every time someone needed to do a video meeting, I would cart that thing around to each room and then plug in the ISDN circuits, right? So I think it's evolved to the point of now that everything's IP based, and most everything has some type of camera, be it your phone, be it your laptop, be it some kind of video room. Having that video centric experience really kind of adds to that overall meeting. And then mobile and app device optimized. Again, when you're working from home on your laptop, not as critical, but I think as people become more mobile and fluid, having that same meeting experience on multiple devices, no matter if you're in the office or if you're working from home, is going to be a recipe for success. So from a meetings platform, we're going to talk a little bit about FedRAMP WebEx today. And like I talked about previously, kind of compare and contrast some of those physical spaces to virtual spaces. I think we're really seeing a shift in kind of where and how we meet. So in your office, right, you have a designated spaces for certain types of meetings, right? In your house, you have a room for each function. And I think for WebEx, it's really no different. So we have various suites available to your user base based on the type of meeting that they plan on hosting. Now, these product suites are available as an enterprise subscription, so you would get access to all of them. Or what we've also seen is the a la carte model, right? So typically you have them be an event coordinator, right, who's focused on managing events. So they'd be licensed with WebEx events. You may have a designated trainer or public safety officer that conducts these kind of monthly or annual trainings. So really we're looking at how do we transition physical spaces into virtual experiences. So on the meetings platform, this is kind of your general purpose, right? Think of this as almost your conference room in the cloud. For me, it's where 99% of my meetings happen. So I can support up to 1,000 users in any single meeting, and it gives you all the integrated audio, high definition video, content sharing, recording, and multiple devices. And again, general team meetings, project management, this is where the majority of people meet on a day-to-day basis. So events is something that we're using today, and kind of think of that use case of kind of one to many. And for agencies today, especially, where maybe they're used to doing things like town hall events, right? Everyone gets into the auditorium to hear an update. Rather than sending an email for communication, right? Having your leadership be able to kind of bring everyone into this one meeting, right? Share an idea, share updates, organizational changes, is really kind of shifting the mindset. So unlike meetings, events supports up to 3,000 users total. So you can get a large audience in a kind of single online event, and kind of have this one-to-many. And then finally, the trainings. So we see a lot of customers using this now, especially for, I think I mentioned public safety, technical training. We're actually working with a company now for leadership training. And the big driver here in trainings is the ability to create and manage breakout sessions, right? So like a normal meeting, right? You have everyone in one meeting, right, talking about a topic, sharing an idea. But there comes a point in which, you need to take those groups of people and separate them out, right? So maybe different groups, different topics, so they can almost think of it like a meeting within a meeting, kind of like you would have a huddle room within a classroom. And then after that breakout session's over, right, everyone comes back to meet together. So especially now that a lot of the physical training spaces aren't available, seeing a lot of use for WebEx trainings and that online training ability. So from a security standpoint, I think this is why we're really having this conversation, and why the topic of this is secure collaboration, because not all collaboration, right, is created equal. So when I compare and contrast FedRAMP WebEx to really any commercial solution, right, there's a lot of things we're looking for the risk mitigation. So obviously the security, right, comes at a price or a cost. Right, building dedicated data centers with regular audits and US only compliance, comes at an increased cost. I think if you look at the opposite side of that coin of what's the cost of data leakage, of some security incident happening, I think it's a very small trade-off. So with WebEx FedRAMP, right, we're looking at US citizen only in controlled data centers, right? The service level agreements that when there is a security event, right, it isn't vendor defined, it's government defined. So the government's able to say, hey, if we have an event, a 0-day, some kind of breach, right, that vendor, Cisco, Force3, is kind of held to that standard. The encryption protocols is, I think, especially important because they're not all created equal, and especially with FedRAMP WebEx, as well as the commercial version, right? They all support TLS 1.2, but the ability to use the lower protocols is what really kind of creates that security breach. So there's a very common man in the middle attack that if you support TLS 1.0, 1.1, and 1.2, you can downgrade that TLS version to a lower version and actually execute that attack. So having a system, and this isn't WebEx or collaboration, any IT system that disables TLS 1.0 and 1.1 is really a cornerstone for supporting the highest in encryption protocols. All these, again, I mentioned, dedicated physical infrastructures for U.S. government only, right, monthly reviews with the sponsor agency, and then constant third-party audits on security posture and overall log auditing. Slide issues. So one other feature of WebEx, this is fairly new to the FedRAMP offering, is WebEx Edge. And it's really, the aim is to start blending the edge of your enterprise with the cloud. And really the driver here is how do we save cost, and how do we make the meeting experience more reliable. So on the WebEx Edge Connect, we're actually connecting your site, your office, to the WebEx backbone. So that does really two things. It bypasses the internet, which as we know, is historically unreliable and insecure. So with that dedicated connection, right, you're getting that pipe directly into the WebEx backbone, and it's also providing that end-to-end quality of service. So when you have voice video traffic, you're able to maintain a level of service from end to end. And then finally, WebEx Edge Audio is, a lot of customers have already invested in an on-premise call portfolio. So if you've invested in Communications Manager, right, you have call control available on premise. You normally would also have some kind of PSTN provider, right? So how do you reach the public switch telephone network, either normally through PRI or SIP connectivity? Rather than repurchasing that same audio from the cloud, we can leverage Expressway, and that's a very special product that was actually acquired by Cisco from the acquisition of Tandberg. And think of that as your bridge to the cloud, right? So how do I securely bridge my on-premise? How do I get through the firewall, which historically, right, doesn't play very nice with voice and video traffic, and how do I extend that over to the WebEx cloud? So good thing for the Flex plan, the WebEx Edge Audio has no additional cost. So again, if you have PSTN audio on premise today, we can extend that to the WebEx meetings platform to save you money at no additional cost. And to wrap up the calling aspect, and Edge Audio, I think, starts getting us into how do we start graying the lines between premise and cloud. I think there certainly has to be a conversation around it. If meetings are in the cloud, how do we start moving other applications and other functionalities to that same destination? So I think this is more so true in the DoD environments, but I think civilians certainly not immune to that legacy calling, right? Is a lot of people still have that 1970s PBX held together with shoestring and bubble gum, and from an enterprise mobility standpoint, problem is that number and that functionality, it exists within those within those four walls. So step one of migrating from that legacy calling is transitioning that voice and video traffic to the network. Right. Once it's network based, we can actually start leveraging the power of the network to move that traffic in different directions, support some of the business continuity activities, and actually start bringing that collaboration features and functions forward. And once it's IP, right, now we have the capability to start looking at the cloud of how do I start shifting maybe some of that ownership, some of that burden on that technology. So if your meetings are in the cloud, your callings in the cloud, they both start operating together. Not that for a lot of agencies, right, there's that hybrid approach of hey, I want to start looking at the cloud, but the calling aspect is, I've had a PBX on premise that when I pick up the phone, it always works every single time. So I see a lot of agencies looking at that hybrid approach, right? I have something local for my large offices, for my dense population areas, but for people working from home, for smaller remote sites, right, backhauling all that to the enterprise doesn't make sense. So where do I leverage the cloud where it makes the most sense? For large population centers, I may have something local, but that cloud offering is also your continuity and your contingency plan, so that if something does happen on site where there's a failure in that system, you can be assured that there's a data center reachable hosting that same capability up in the cloud. So that said, I want to transition it over to Ramanuj. Just talk a little bit about day in the life of WebEx and some of his experiences on the U.S. public sector team of Cisco. Ramanuj, why don't you take it away?
Hey, Joe, before we do that,
yeah,
there are actually a couple of questions in the Q&A. One of it, Ramanuj will probably address in his slide deck. But there is one from Dimitri where he asked about FedRAMP WebEx. Is there plans to support e-discovery for WebEx meetings for things like chat? Second part of that is they're also interested in third-party key management for end-to-end encrypted meetings. So there are actually two questions over there. So Joe, I don't know if you want to answer that or answer that in conjunction to Ramanuj as well.
I think I will cover that piece. Those are the key enhancements that we're talking about. So maybe at the end we can have that conversation.
Okay, sounds good. And there was a Control Hub. When is Control Hub available? That's also another question. So that'll be addressed by you. But there's one that probably needs to be addressed by Joe before we move on to you, Ramanuj, is how do you get help with user adoption and training for WebEx? So Joe, I know you guys are very familiar with that. You have a process and methodology for that. So you'll be best to answer that for the customers on here today.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, so I think it's very much a joint effort. It's understanding, right, your business drivers, your challenges behind, going to WebEx meetings and how you can enable your users with that functionality. So, we assign our own customer success manager, right, to every WebEx opportunity to understand kind of, hey, what are your challenges? What are your goals with WebEx meetings? What's your timeline like? How do we support you throughout that journey? Every WebEx customer also gets a Cisco assigned customer success manager, right? So the Force3 CSM paired with the Cisco CSM really kind of jointly works together. So for the onboarding, right, you're understanding what you purchased and what it does. And then throughout the life cycle of that subscription, right, having those quarterly success meetings to make sure, hey, what are the trends? What are the usage? What are maybe some of the challenges that we need to address as a team? So definitely is a holistic approach with a lot of different touch points, both on the IT teams, but also reaching into your business units and understanding, right, how different people are going to apply different WebEx centers to their day-to-day life. So that's a service that's included at no additional cost. We do have other adoption packages available for a cost that kind of dives into more of the collateral generation and some of the, I guess, more robust usage tracking.
Yeah, and I also want to add, Joe, Ramanuj will cover about Control Hub and analytics, but that is coming, right? So that's going to help a lot from a usage analytic perspective in terms of adding that to your adoption service for the customers.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So let me just, I think I just have like about 10 minutes worth of presentation. And the way I wanted to show here is literally take the user a day in a life with WebEx. What I'm sharing is this is how my day looks like. It's probably this is how same for you. Your day is filled with multiple short meetings, and then you do your focused work before the meeting, and then you hop onto the meeting to collaborate with your a larger team. And once the meeting is over, you hop off and continue your focused work stream. So the challenge here is that the work happens before, during, and after meetings. And what you need is a set of tools that help you with that continuous work stream. And with WebEx, we provide you the set of tools and capabilities that lets you work through before, during, and after meetings. Can you go to the next slide? So let's just look at the our meetings. Your meeting is more effective if your participants are all prepared. So right at the time of the scheduling of the meetings, WebEx provides you the tools like you can do the messaging and start collaborating with the team, start preparing for your meeting. If you are prepared for the meetings, your meetings are more effective. And in terms of joining, we give you a set of devices and the capabilities to seamlessly join the meetings. And our video devices are integrated with the meetings, makes your joining experience much more seamless. And as you are in the meeting and you are sharing and you're collaborating, there are a lot of activities happening. You probably need to follow up. So give you the capability to record the meeting, and then when the meeting is over, you can follow up with the messaging. So we've got a set of tools and capability right from before the meeting, during meeting, and after the meeting to help you with your work stream. Go to the next slide. I think as Joe mentioned that our work environment has changed and it's more challenging and more dynamic. No longer the work completely happens in the office. Now, earlier this year, we were all asked to go home and work remotely. And now as the offices are opening, they are opening with a reduced capacity, and we are still mandated that, hey, you have to maintain the physical distancing. And that's where the video first approach of WebEx gives you that edge that you are still able to collaborate and have a face-to-face conversations with our WebEx tools and capabilities. I think for this team, FedRAMP is more important. So let's just look at what are the tools and capabilities that we have with FedRAMP today. Can you go to the next slide? So as Joe talked about the broader capabilities, I'm just going to touch upon the key functions. So if you look at our FedRAMP WebEx ATO today, it gives you a capability of a WebEx meetings capabilities. You can join the events, training, and the support functions. Gives you a video conferencing as well as the personal room with your devices, laptops, and on a mobile client. If you need a voice and video calling workloads, we have an offer, UCM Cloud for Government, that gives you voice and video calling. And then we have a Jabber client on the laptop as well as your mobile client to enable the messaging. And they all are integrated with our WebEx devices, which are on your desktop or in the room. Plus, we have an IP phones and headsets, all today registering with the UCM Cloud for Government. That's the portfolio we have today. These are all the authorized products. When we build these products, we put the security right at the time of software development to enable the easy compliance and authorizations. We never have the security as an afterthought. We never think about it afterwards. It's all software development, and security is actually built in our processes from the ground up. So this is a portfolio. Now, in terms of ongoing enhancements, what are the new capabilities that we are adding? So can you go to the next slide? I think on the next, one key thing I wanted to highlight here is that the Cisco WebEx team. So that's our next major enhancement. That's in a FedRAMP in process state today. And in terms of timeline, you see, it is towards the tail end of our authorization. And probably I would say that in next 60 days, you will start seeing from Cisco announcements coming out about our next set of capabilities that are coming into our WebEx platform. WebEx Teams being front and center. That's our client as user experience that you get it. So that's why I'm kind of highlighting here is WebEx Teams. But if you look at our ATO, through this ATO, we are bringing in a lot more capabilities. And one of the key capability I think you asked about is a Control Hub. So Control Hub capability will be enabled with this authorization, that Cisco WebEx collaboration for US government authorization. It not only gives you WebEx Teams capability, it's also going to give you a capability of Control Hub. And Control Hubs gives you a lot more deeper analytics capability and diagnostic capabilities of WebEx meeting as well. So that's coming with this authorization. And you will see these announcements coming. I am kind of saying that probably around within 60 days time frame, you will see Cisco starts announcing and providing you more details. And the reason being it's very tail end of our FedRAMP authorization process. We're working with our PMOs. The audits are all done and all the things are taken care of. It's just the final stages of getting the approval. That's where we are. There was also a question around DLP and e-discovery. So those capabilities actually we have with our CloudLock, and CloudLock is already is our CASB product. It's already FedRAMP authorized. So what we're gonna do is as soon as we get the FedRAMP, complete the FedRAMP of WebEx Teams and Control Hub, what we're doing is we're just gonna connect those two together to provide you that end-to-end capability where you will get those CASB functionality from CloudLock coming to you. So those are sets of additional enhancements in Flow. So you're going to be seeing from us a set of announcements in stages coming out as we get to the authorization, as we finish the interconnect with CloudLock. You will see those capabilities announcements coming later part of this year. And they're all contingent upon we're just kind of wrapping up our US WebEx collaboration for US government ATO, which is at the tail end. So that's kind of my 10-minute rundown on the roadmaps and where we are heading.
Awesome. And Ramanuj, could you address? I think maybe one of the questions was around hybrid security, where some of the security keys, kind of the keys to the castle right now, maybe are in the cloud. So if agencies are looking to kind of take ownership of that themselves, is there any other future capability where we could start looking at some hybrid security models?
That's absolutely. I think those are all a set of capabilities that are going to be coming with our collaboration ATO. So this is you will be seeing a continuous stream of innovation coming through this ATO over a period of time within this later part of this year. The first thing we start with the WebEx team. I think that's the first thing you're going to see. And then you're going to see Control Hub and WebEx. I think you're going to see first Teams, then you're going to see Control Hub, and then you're going to see the additional interconnects, and that was you're talking about CloudLock. And after that, you will have any further set of enhancements. But I think these are the three things that you're going to see like quickly coming out later part of this year. And the additional capabilities, as definitely there are more functionality and all those are planned. But I think right now we kind of focus on near term is what's going to deliver the next half of this year.
Great. Kat, Scott, any other questions on the Q&A panel?
I would just say overall, my observation since COVID hit was, and I see Kat's responding now to Donald there, but seeing that Cisco had to really redivert resources to build up the WebEx platform to be able to handle the 10 times calling volume. I would ask, has that caused delays from the software enhancements and developments, or do we still see those being on track?
Absolutely no. I think there has been the capacity wise, I think we have been adding the capacity to meet the demand. As you said, that is just has exploded, but that has not impacted any of our FedRAMP plans or the capabilities that we are bringing to the US public sector market. So that plans are in motion, and you will be seeing a set of announcements coming out later part of this year as we wrap up this WebEx collaboration for the government ATO. We have those features and capabilities. It's just, and we have our audits are done and all the paperwork, everything is done. It's at the final stages. So as we get those authorizations done, obviously we will be more sending out the announcement and making things available. So it's just kind of, we're just waiting on this, our ATO to basically formally get done and gets posted on a FedRAMP marketplace site.
Thank you for clarifying.
Hey, Joe, I have a question.
Go for it. Yes.
Okay, cool. So I know from my experience on the commercial side of WebEx, you've had some customers who had legacy site admin and are moving over to the newer platform for WebEx meetings. So has there been discussions yet on how we plan on migrating our customers, even our FedRAMP customers, from legacy site admin to the Control Hub yet, or is that still something in the works?
That's currently in the works from our business units, and I don't have an exact status that where they are in terms of making available those migration plans. But that's one of the use case that when we make a control hub available, and if we got a users on a site admin, how that experience migration looks like. So the BU is aware, and our business unit and engineering teams basically are working on that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's that's part of a question that was posted in terms of you know, what's the plan for getting teams and stuff like that, right? So our internal team is working on a bunch of go-to-market stuff, right? One of which includes what you just asked, Ken, right? Because there's CI linking capability to this makes the migration from site admin to control hub, you know, a lot easier, right? So we are working on those plans. We're working on the enablement plans, not only from a partner perspective, but also from a customer perspective, right? As customers are moving off of site admin to control hub, maybe not a whole lot of them have experience with control hub, right? So we have to think about the customer from an administrative perspective of using control hub from the site admin. So once again, all the go-to-market stuff is in works right now. We work very closely with partners like yourself to get you guys prepared for the upcoming, you know, ATO and things like that. I would say, Ramanuj, you know, there was a question. Actually, there are a couple of questions. You know, they thought the ATO was supposed to be in July, right? So, you know, my response is that, you know, COVID slow things down a little bit, right? You know, from a PMO office perspective, we are working with the FedRAMP PMO office as they have our package right now. You know, just like you guys might have gone through some GDIC certification stuff before, you know, we always have a target date, but when it comes to working with the you know, PMO office, you know, sometimes it gets delayed in that process. So, Ramanuj, you know, do you have any additional,
Yes.
you know, things to add to that, maybe?
Yeah, so I think you covered it. The key here is that with respect to the next set of enhancement and with our collaboration for the U.S. government ATO, Cisco was on track. We have done all the work. The audits were actually done before remote working mandate due to COVID. So all the packages were given to FedRAMP PMO. And then what happened, the remote working mandate hit, and then the PMO had this resource challenges, and the PMO review has slowed down, and that is why it's taking a little longer than what it would have. But there is nothing on the Cisco side. Everything was taken care of. All the packages there, the audits were successful. All the documentations were uploaded on OMB Max side, so PMO has it. It's just that the PMO got resource challenged because of the COVID, their remote working mandate, and they were slow to work, and they acknowledged with us, and we were just kind of collaborating and working together to close that thing and get to the final ETO. And we are very, very close. I think PMO review is towards the end stage. That's why I'm saying in probably in the next 60 days, you will start Cisco start making the announcements around the authorization.
This might be a question for Ramanuj, maybe, or maybe Joe and team. How would this upgrade happen? And this is pertaining to Video Platform 2.0. So, you know, the understanding is that it requires an upgrade to WebEx, the Video Platform 2.0. So within FedRAMP right now, is that being done on the back end, you know, to enable video platform? I mean, is there any major upgrade that we have to go through, or is that kind of part of the platform already that we'll be migrating to?
So Video Platform 2.0 is a part of the platform. Mm-hmm. It's a backend platform capability. How it will be exposed is basically, I think I don't have that information. I think my engineering is working on this. I am pretty sure they will be publishing the documentation for our partners, and our partners here are here to help you with that. So I am pretty sure Force3 is going to make that a seamless experience for you. But my engineering team is going to be producing that information for our partners to help our customers.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like a lot of that, right, is kind of on that control hub, right? So migrating from site admin to control hub, a lot of the video platform too is really kind of back end, right? Bells and whistles. So I think the goal there is to work with our customers on how we transition, right, the user accounts and the meetings and the recordings. And once that transition happens, a lot of the back end video platform too and other features should be seamless to the end users in those devices.
There was one more question that I'm not exactly how to address, but the question is, how do you get it now? So that's pretty wide open question, but I'm assuming how do you get Teams now is the question. So Ramanu, we're not doing any type of EFT or anything that I'm aware of, right? So I think customers will get Teams once the ATO is on FedRAMP Marketplace, as well as getting that. We didn't talk about ISA, but getting the interoperability testing done.
So I think if the question is, can I use WebEx Teams before it is completely authorized? Is it basically? I think the question is that, can I use FedRAMP in process version of WebEx Teams?
Yeah, actually, to clarify, how do you get early access? So, kind of like the EFT.
Okay. Well, we're not, we're so close to ATO. I think we're going to be basically just going to be authorizing and we will be just FCSing and launching it. If you want to try WebEx Teams function only, there may be an option to just look at it. I think you just kind of reach out to Joe and see he can work with Cisco to see if he can give you like an early view of WebEx Teams. However, if you want like a full capabilities, I would say that you just wait for the ATO to get the full experience because the way FedRAMP works is that once we get this collab ATO, we will be basically having the interconnect agreements with the other components, such as CloudLogs, such as the WebEx, to just make it the whole package and just give you that whole complete experience. That will not be there. If you try it now, you might be able to just see the WebEx Teams. But if that's your goal, check with Joe, and Joe will work with Cisco to see how we can get you on the platform, just so that you can just experience the WebEx Teams function.
Yeah, and just to expand on, I think a lot of it goes down to what the goal of that is, right? If it's, hey, what is the user experience going to be like? What is the interface? I think we can certainly use maybe the commercial version of Teams as an example, knowing that the FedRAMP version of Teams, right, as it's new and then gets secured. So we can certainly use the commercial version as a guideline. But again, it goes back to, is the goal to understand user experience, or is it to actually start rolling it out to users? And I think those are two different conversations. So I have a copy of the Q&A. So whoever asked that, feeling who it might have been, we can follow up afterwards and answer that a little more directly.
There is a very controversial comment there, and it's controversial because anytime you mention the name Don Brown, it raises some eyebrows. So, he's saying the problem is that Don Brown told us that FedRAMP and commercial was 95% the same, so we decided to go with FedRAMP. Moving forward, that's probably going to be a true statement, right? Because we're actually on pretty much the same version as commercial. But the full functionality, obviously there is a gap, right? So Joe share a security gap in terms of what the security gap is between commercial and FedRAMP WebEx. We're actually working on an internal documentation that shows what commercial Teams, commercial WebEx has versus what FedRAMP WebEx, and both from a meetings perspective and from a Teams perspective. I had an early preview of that. It looked really, really good, right? So when this gets to market, we'll be posting that maybe in Sales Connect or something like that. So There are a couple more comments, as we're talking, more comments are rolling in, Joe. So one of it is, how do you get the package now to begin the security review, which I don't think you can until it gets placed on the marketplace, and then you can submit, being the customers can submit for the SSP, right?
So I think I'll just quickly comment on that. Is our package is already on OMB Max. It's already there. It's currently marked FedRAMP in process. And this is where I think I don't know the government process that as an agency, if you are entitled to download a FedRAMP in process packages, then you will be, because it's already there on OMB Max. All the package and all the information is already loaded. Everything is there. If you are allowed to download FedRAMP in process, you will get it. However, if you are not allowed to download FedRAMP in process, can you please reach out to Joe, and Joe, reach out to Cisco and see what we can do to help you. I mean, we will figure it out for you. I think if you are interested in reviewing the package sooner, we will figure that out for you if you are not able to download from OMB Max.
Joe, there are a few more. There's more and more coming in. One is basically saying site admin sucks. Control Hub is the way to go. Yes, we agree.
No. Yep.
Yeah. But I would actually even say, even within Control Hub, I do have some questions in terms of, hey, look, in Control Hub commercial, you can create trials and stuff like that, right? Do we have the same flexibility in Control Hub FedRAMP to do trials, given there's a little bit more constraint? So once again, we're working with all that go-to-market material. We're going to talk to Joe and team about it. And I think a great follow-on session to this, Joe, is when this is all available, right? Let's have a follow-up webinar to talk through all these things that kind of are being asked right now. There's one other thing.
I think someone asked, extra costs for Teams once
exactly. I was going to go to that.
Is it an add-on? Is there a Teams-only package? So I think that would be a great, maybe directed conversation to have once it's approved and we, kind of dust settles. We can kind of have more of those kind of pricing conversations.
Exactly. Only other one I see here is there any API access to FedRAMP? So like there is API access today for commercial WebEx. And I believe the answer is it'll be, you know what? I'm not even going to try to answer that. But Ramanuj, are there any constraint on WebEx, FedRAMP WebEx API, or is it the same commercial API that you can leverage? And Joe, if you know the answer as well.
The APIs are available and they will be documented in our the FedRAMP package. I think there was a comment about how do I get access to the package. I think that would be a great resource, because I think from a security point, you want to see that what ports, protocol, and interfaces are available. They are all documented in our FedRAMP package. WebEx Meetings has a set of capabilities, and what we're doing with Collaboratio is we are bringing in all the new sets of capabilities, and it has a new set of interfaces, and those are all our modern experiences that you are going to get, that you are getting from the commercial. So to answer to that, I think yes, there will be API, and I think you will likely want to basically download our SSP and review that package.
Great. So we're at top of the hour now. I think that handles the majority of the questions. Probably again, Kev, was a great comment of, hey, when the dust settles, and it sounds like it's going to be shortly, right? The future is now for a lot of these changes and enhancements. So I think that would be a great version 2 session. So I guess with that, just to thanks everyone for joining. It was a great conversation. And looking towards the future, which again is around the corner. So thanks again, and have a great day.
Thank you.